Your Honor, I've been a deputy for 15 years. I know a drug dealer when I see one. And this black woman right here, she's exactly the type. Deputy Travis Lang pointed from the witness stand, a smug smile playing at the corner of his mouth. These people come into our county, live off welfare, and think they can do whatever they want. Not on my watch. The prosecutor nodded in quiet agreement. The jury listened. The judge took notes. At the defendant's table sat Maya Ellison, hands folded in her lap, wearing an orange jumpsuit she could never have afforded to fight. She had no lawyer of her own. She said nothing. She didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She simply watched him with calm, steady eyes, as if she were waiting for something. Deputy Travis Lang thought he was destroying another nobody. Another poor black woman who couldn't fight back, another easy conviction. He had no idea who she really was, or that every lie he had just told would bring his entire world crashing down. Have you ever watched someone powerful lie about you while the people who should protect you stayed silent? Let me take you back to the events that led to that moment. Whitmore County sat in the heart of America, flat farmland, small towns, country churches, and long empty roads where the speed limit rarely changed. From a distance, it looked like a postcard. Neighbors waving, Friday night football treated like religion, deputies invited to 4th of July barbecues. Everyone assumed the police were the good guys. But beneath that surface, something had been rotting for a very long time. Over 5 years, 23 formal complaints had been filed against deputies in the Whitmore County Sheriff's Department. 23 citizens, mostly black, mostly Latino, had walked into that station, filled out the paperwork, and said the same thing. Something happened to me. Something wrong, something illegal. 23 complaints, 23 internal investigations, 23 times the department investigated itself. Every single complaint came back stamped with the same red word, unfounded. The names changed, the dates changed, but the stories were almost identical. A traffic stop on a lonely road, an officer claiming to smell marijuana, a search without consent, drugs discovered in the vehicle, arrest, conviction, prison. The pattern was so consistent it felt scripted. And in a way it was. Sheriff Roy Harlan signed off on every dismissed complaint without reading them. His internal affairs department consisted of exactly one person, his nephew, a junior deputy who had never investigated anything more serious than a missing bicycle. The system wasn't broken, it was working exactly as designed, just not for the people it was supposed to protect. Far away in a federal building most Americans have never seen, someone else was paying attention. The FBI's Civil Rights Division monitors patterns. They track complaints. They look for counties where the numbers don't add up, where certain communities are arrested at rates that defy explanation. Whitmore County had been on their radar for years. Too many complaints, too many dismissals, too many convictions for drug possession in a rural county with no significant drug trade. Something was deeply wrong, and they intended to find out what. They decided to send someone in, not with a badge, not with backup, not with any official capacity, just one agent living as an ordinary citizen, documenting everything from the inside. The mission was simple on paper: observe, record, and build a federal case. In practice, it meant becoming invisible. It meant enduring whatever happened. It meant waiting, sometimes for months, for the right moment to act. They needed someone patient, someone disciplined, someone who understood on a personal level what it meant to be black in a town that wasn't built for you. They chose Maya Ellison, 34 years old, a 12-year veteran of the Bureau, a specialist in civil rights violations and police misconduct. She had worked undercover operations in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. She knew how these stories usually ended. She knew the risks. When they asked her to volunteer, she said yes without hesitation. Someone has to be the one they stop, she told her supervisor. Might as well be someone who can do something about it. Maya moved to Whitmore County and rented a small apartment on the side of town locals quietly called The Other Side. She took a job as a clerk at an insurance office downtown. She drove a 10-year-old Honda Accord with a dent in the rear bumper. She wore no jewelry, kept to herself, smiled politely at neighbors, and never said more than necessary. To anyone watching, she was just another black woman trying to make ends meet. Nothing special, nothing threatening. That was exactly the point. Her apartment was carefully staged, family photos on the wall borrowed from the Bureau's prop department, a child's drawing on the refrigerator in bright crayon colors. It suggested a story: single mother, limited resources, vulnerable. The drawing was her niece's. Maya had no children. She had a badge, a mission, and a recording device disguised as a pendant around her neck. Everything was a cover, and the cover was perfect. Meanwhile, Deputy Travis Lang had no idea his world was about to collapse. Lang was a 15-year veteran with commendations on his wall and photos of himself shaking hands with the mayor, the county commissioner, and Sheriff Harlan. His brother-in-law, Russell Tate, sat on the county commission and controlled half the local budget. In Whitmore County, Travis Lang was untouchable. Everyone knew it, including him. He was loud about it too, in the break room, at the bar, after shifts, at family dinners. He talked about cleaning up the streets and keeping Whitmore safe from these people who are changing the character of our community. His partner, Deputy Holly Bennett, heard it all. She had been riding with him for 2 years. Younger, quieter, more careful with her words, she noticed things that made her stomach turn. The way Lang talked about certain drivers before he even pulled them over. The way evidence always seemed to appear exactly when he needed it. The way his body camera conveniently malfunctioned at critical moments. But she never said anything. She had 2 children at home and a mortgage she could barely afford. Travis Lang had friends in very high places, so when he made jokes she didn't find funny, she looked away. When he said things that made her sick, she stayed silent. She told herself it wasn't her problem. She told herself she didn't see what she saw. Deep down, Holly Bennett knew something was very wrong. She just didn't have the courage to admit it. Not yet. One evening, everything changed. The sun was setting over Whitmore County, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The temperature had dropped into the low 70s. A gentle breeze moved through the cornfields along County Road 12. Maya Ellison was driving home from work. Same route, same careful speed, same Honda Accord. She saw the patrol car in her rearview mirror before she heard anything. It had been parked in a gravel turnout, half hidden behind trees, the kind of spot where deputies waited. The car pulled out behind her and followed at a distance. No lights, no siren. Maya kept driving perfectly straight, hands at 10 and 2. She had been waiting for this moment, not hoping for it, just understanding the probability. Black drivers in Whitmore County were stopped 4 times more often than white drivers, and Deputy Travis Lang's patrol route covered this exact stretch of road. Sooner or later, he would stop her. The blue and red lights came on, the siren gave a short whoop. Maya signaled, checked her mirrors, and pulled over slowly and carefully. She put the car in park, placed both hands on the steering wheel where they could be clearly seen, and waited. Her heart beat faster, not from fear but from anticipation. Months of preparation had led to this single moment. The pendant around her neck was already recording. Footsteps on gravel. A flashlight beam swept through her rear window and into her eyes. Deputy Travis Lang appeared at her driver's side window. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't state the reason for the stop. He simply stood there, shining the light directly into her face. License and registration. "Good evening, officer," Maya answered, her voice calm and measured. "May I ask why I was pulled over?" "License and registration." His tone made it clear. Questions were not welcome. "Yes, sir, I'm going to reach for my purse now. It's on the passenger seat. I'm moving slowly." She handed him the documents. Lang took them without a word. He looked at her license, then at her, then back at the license. Something shifted behind his eyes. "Maya Ellison," he said, like the name tasted bitter. "Oakdale Street, that's the Section 8 side of town, isn't it? Government housing." "It's just an apartment, sir." He gave a short, mean laugh. "Step out of the vehicle." "May I ask why, officer? I don't believe I was speeding." "I'm detecting the odor of marijuana coming from your vehicle." Maya Ellison had never smoked marijuana in her life. There was no marijuana in her car. There had never been marijuana in her car. But she knew exactly what was happening. This was the script, the same lie that had sent 23 innocent people to prison. "I don't use any substances, sir. You won't find anything in my car." "Step out of the vehicle now. Don't make me ask again." She opened the door slowly, stepped out with her hands visible, and stood beside her car as the patrol lights flashed across the darkening road. Lang circled her like a predator. "You're very calm. Most people get nervous when they're pulled over. Why is that?" "I have nothing to hide, officer." "Nothing to hide. That's what they all say." He gestured toward her car. "You won't mind if I take a look then?" "Am I required to consent to a search?" Annoyance flickered across his face. Most people didn't know their rights. Most people were too scared to ask. "I don't need your consent. I have probable cause. The odor of marijuana gives me the right to search your vehicle." There was no odor. They both knew it. But out here on County Road 12 with nothing but cornfields for witnesses, Travis Lang's word was law. He didn't wait for an answer. He opened the driver's door and began tearing through her car, glove compartment, center console, under the seats. He threw papers on the ground and dumped out her purse like her belongings meant nothing. A second patrol car pulled up. Deputy Holly Bennett stepped out and walked over slowly, staying back watching. "What have we got?" Holly asked. "Smell of marijuana," Lang said, still searching. "She's playing dumb, but I know there's something here." He reached under the passenger seat. His hand moved with practiced smoothness, like he had done this exact motion many times before. When his hand came back out, he was holding a small plastic bag with white powder inside. "Well, well, well," he said, holding it up to the light. "Look what we have here." Maya felt a cold knot form in her stomach. She had expected this. But watching him plant evidence right in front of her was something else entirely. "That's not mine." "Oh, it's not yours?" he mocked. "Then how did it get in your car?" "I don't know. I've never seen that bag before." "That's what they all say, sweetheart." He stepped closer, dangling the bag in front of her face. "Cocaine possession with intent to distribute. You're looking at felony charges, years in prison." He was enjoying this. The power, the control, the knowledge that he could do anything and no one would stop him. How does that feel? He asked. Coming into my county, living off government assistance, thinking you can do whatever you want. This isn't Chicago. This isn't Detroit. This is Whitmore County. And in Whitmore County, I am the law. Maya said nothing. Nothing to say now, huh? What happened to all that calm? I would like to invoke my right to remain silent. You'll have plenty of time to be silent in a cell. He grabbed her arm hard, spun her around, and pushed her against the car. You're hurting me. Should have thought of that before you decided to run drugs through my county. The handcuffs snapped shut, too tight she could feel the metal biting into her wrists. Lang spun her back to face him and recited the Miranda warning like it was a joke. As he led her toward the patrol car, Maya looked at Holly Bennett one more time. Their eyes met. Holly's face was tight, conflicted. Her hands were clenched at her sides. She had seen something. Iris was certain of it. She had seen Lang reach into his own pocket before finding the drugs. But Holly turned away, walked back to her vehicle, and said nothing. Lang shoved Maya into the back of his patrol car, not gently. You know what your problem is? He leaned in, his face inches from hers. You people think you can come here, take government handouts, break our laws, and nothing will happen. But I've been doing this for 15 years. I know exactly what you are. He slammed the door. Through the window, Maya watched him walk back to her car, already writing in his notepad, constructing the lies he would put in his official report. Erratic driving, strong odor of marijuana, suspect became aggressive and uncooperative, drugs found in plain view. None of it was true. All of it would be treated as gospel in Whitmore County. But Travis Lang had made one mistake he couldn't possibly have known about. 6 hours before this traffic stop, Maya Ellison's car had been swept by the FBI's technical team. Her vehicle was completely verifiably clean. If there were drugs in that car now, they didn't come from her. They came from him. And he had done it all on camera. The pendant around her neck had recorded every word, every action, every lie. A hidden camera in her rearview mirror had captured everything from a second angle. At that very moment, in a secure facility in Virginia, FBI analysts were watching the feed in real time. They had seen Travis Lang plant the drugs. Deputy Travis Lang thought he had just made an easy arrest. He had just handed the FBI everything they needed to destroy him. But Maya wasn't ready to reveal herself, not yet. She needed one more thing. She needed him to tell these same lies under oath in a courtroom, on the record. That was when the trap would finally close. So she sat in the back of his patrol car, wrists aching, watching the dark fields pass by, and she waited. The next several hours were a blur of fluorescent lights and paperwork. Maya was processed like thousands before her, fingerprinted, photographed, her belongings sealed in a clear plastic bag. No one examined the pendant, no one questioned it, just another piece of cheap jewelry belonging to another poor black woman arrested for drugs. They gave her an orange jumpsuit and led her to a holding cell. The concrete floor was cold, the single toilet had no privacy screen. The other women looked up when she entered, sized her up, and looked away. To them, she was nobody, just another statistic. That night, Maya was allowed one phone call. She didn't call a lawyer. She didn't call family. She dialed a number with a Washington, D.C. area code that rang in a secure office at FBI headquarters. She spoke 2 words, package received. Then she hung up. In FBI terminology, those words meant the operation had entered its critical phase. The evidence was secured. The target had committed the anticipated violation. The trap was set. Now came the hardest part, waiting. A few days after her arrest, Maya stood before Judge Evelyn Shaw for her arraignment. The courtroom was half empty, just another routine drug case in Whitmore County. The prosecutor, Adrian Wells, approached the bench with practiced confidence. Your Honor, the people request bail be set at $50,000. The defendant is a recent arrival with limited ties to the community. Flight risk is considerable. Maya stood in her orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, and said nothing. Judge Shaw barely looked up. Bail is set at $50,000. Next case. $50,000. Maya could have paid it. The FBI had contingency funds for exactly this situation, but that wasn't the plan. She needed to stay in the system. She needed to be the defendant. She needed Travis Lang to feel so confident in his victory that he would take the stand and repeat every lie under oath. So she didn't pay the bail. She was remanded to county custody and transferred to a cell in the women's wing of the Whitmore County Detention Center. A public defender was assigned to her case, Marcus Reed, 41, graying at the temples, dark circles under his eyes from too many cases and too little sleep. He was carrying 52 active cases. He had 15 minutes to review her file. They met in a small room with a metal table and 2 plastic chairs. Miss Ellison, I'm going to be honest with you, Marcus Reed said. Deputy Lang's word carries a lot of weight in this county. He's been doing this for 15 years. Juries trust him. Judges trust him. Without contradicting evidence, this goes to trial, and the odds are not in your favor. Maya looked at him steadily. What if there was evidence? Marcus paused. Something in her tone made him look up. Is there? Not yet. He didn't understand what she meant. He wouldn't, not until the day of the trial when he would receive a flash drive and a sealed FBI credential along with instructions that would turn the entire case upside down. For now, he simply nodded, made a note in her file, and moved on to his next case. Outside the jail, life in Whitmore County continued as if nothing had happened. Deputy Travis Lang was back on patrol the next day. Same routes, same attitude, same methods. He made 2 more traffic stops that week, 2 more black drivers, 2 more complaints filed, 2 more complaints dismissed. Sheriff Roy Harlan signed off on Lang's arrest report without reading it. He had been signing off on Lang's reports for 15 years. The man produced results, he made arrests, he kept the conviction rate high. Why would the sheriff question him now? Commissioner Russell Tate heard about the Ellison arrest at a family dinner. He clapped Lang on the shoulder and laughed. Travis is out there cleaning up the streets. That's what we pay him for. No one asked questions, no one investigated. The system worked exactly as it was designed to work, for people like Travis Lang and Russell Tate. Not for people like Maya Ellison. But there was one person in Whitmore County who couldn't stop asking questions. Deputy Holly Bennett. Every night that week, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the traffic stop in her mind, the way Lang had circled the car, the way he had searched so aggressively, the way his hand had moved when he reached under the passenger seat, too smooth, too practiced, like a magic trick he had performed 100 times. She kept seeing the look on Maya Ellison's face, not scared, not panicked, just watching, like she knew something no one else did. Holly's body camera had malfunctioned during the stop. Lang had told her to turn it off, but her dash cam had kept rolling. On the 4th night, Holly pulled up the footage on her personal laptop. She watched it once, then twice, then a 3rd time, frame by frame. And there it was, clear as day. Travis Lang's hand reaching into his own pocket before reaching under the seat. A small motion, easy to miss if you weren't looking for it, unmistakable if you were. He had planted the drugs. Holly sat in her living room, laptop glowing in the darkness, and felt the ground shift beneath her feet. She knew, she had proof. And she had no idea what to do with it. She thought about her children, about her mortgage, about what would happen to her career if she accused a 15-year veteran, the brother-in-law of a county commissioner, of planting evidence. She would be destroyed professionally, personally, completely. So she did something she would regret for the rest of her life. She deleted the footage from her laptop, but she didn't delete it from the cloud backup. Some small guilty part of her couldn't bring herself to destroy it completely. She told herself it didn't matter, no one would ever look. She was wrong. When the day of Maya Ellison's trial arrived, the courtroom was quiet, routine, the kind of case that didn't attract attention, just another drug possession trial in a county that processed dozens of them every year. A few local reporters sat in the back row, more out of habit than interest. Deputy Travis Lang arrived early. He walked through the courthouse doors like he owned the building, handshakes with the bailiff, a nod to the prosecutor, a brief conversation with Sheriff Harlan, who had come to show support. "This should be quick," Lang said. "Open and shut." Harlan nodded. Just like the others. Just like the others. 23 complaints, 23 dismissals, dozens of convictions built on the same foundation of lies, and Travis Lang had never lost. He took his seat in the front row and waited to be called. Maya Ellison was brought in through a side door, orange jumpsuit, wrists cuffed. Her face showed nothing, the same calm, watchful expression she had worn since the night of her arrest. She sat down at the defendant's table next to Marcus Reed, who was organizing papers with unusual care. There was something different about him today. His hands weren't shaking, his posture was straighter. But no one noticed. All eyes were on the deputy about to take the stand. The people called Deputy Travis Lang. Lang stood, adjusted his uniform, and walked to the witness stand with the easy confidence of a man who had done this many times before. He raised his right hand and placed his left on the Bible. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" "I do." He sat down. The prosecutor began. "Deputy Lang, please describe for the court the events of the evening in question." Lang nodded and leaned into the microphone. "On the evening in question, I was conducting routine patrol on County Road 12 when I observed a Honda Accord traveling erratically. The vehicle was swerving between lanes, crossing the center line multiple times. Lie number 1, Maya had been driving perfectly straight at 43 miles per hour. I initiated a traffic stop and approached the driver's side window. I immediately detected a strong odor of marijuana emanating from the vehicle. Lie number 2, there was no marijuana. There had never been marijuana. I asked the defendant to step out of the vehicle. She became hostile and uncooperative, refusing to comply with lawful orders. Lie number 3, Maya had said yes sir and no sir throughout the entire stop. Based on the odor and her behavior, I conducted a search of the vehicle. Under the passenger seat in plain view, I discovered a plastic bag containing a white powdery substance that field tested positive for cocaine. Lie number 4, he had planted that bag himself, and it was not in plain view. The prosecutor nodded, satisfied. And in your professional opinion, Deputy Lang, based on your 15 years of experience, what did the defendant's behavior indicate? Lang looked directly at Maya with that same smug expression from the night of the arrest. In my professional opinion, she knew exactly what was in that car. I've been doing this a long time. I know the type. The type. He said it casually, like it explained everything, like being a black woman on a country road was probable cause. The prosecutor thanked him and sat down. "Your witness, Mr. Reed." Marcus Reed stood slowly. He picked up a folder from the table and approached the witness stand. Something in the room shifted, the energy changed. Reed moved with a precision that hadn't been there during opening statements. His voice was calm and clear. Deputy Lang, you testified that your body camera malfunctioned during this traffic stop, is that correct? That's correct, equipment failure. I see. Reed opened the folder. According to department records, this was your 12th body camera malfunction in the past 18 months. 12 stops, 12 failures. He looked up. That seems like quite a coincidence, doesn't it? Lang's jaw tightened. I don't control when equipment fails. No, let me ask you something else. Of those 12 stops where your camera malfunctioned, 11 resulted in drug arrests. All 11 defendants were black or Latino, and all 11 filed complaints that were subsequently dismissed. Reed paused. Another coincidence? Objection, the prosecutor called. Relevance. Judge Shaw considered. I'll allow it, the witness will answer. Lang shifted in his seat. I patrol areas with high drug activity. That's where I make arrests. High drug activity? Reed nodded. Interesting, because according to county crime statistics, the area where you stopped Ms. Ellison has one of the lowest drug-related crime rates in Whitmore County. He set down a document. Let's move on. Reed walked back to the defense table, picked up another folder, and returned. Deputy Lang, you testified under oath that no recording exists of this traffic stop because your camera malfunctioned. Is that your testimony, that there is no video evidence of what happened on County Road 12 that night? Lang nodded, confident again. That's correct. No recording exists. Reed looked at Maya. She gave an almost imperceptible nod. Then how do you explain this? He opened the folder, pulled out a flash drive, and handed it to the bailiff. Your Honor, the defense would like to enter video evidence recovered from the defendant's personal recording device. The courtroom stirred. Lang's face went rigid. What recording device? What are you talking about? A screen was lowered at the front of the courtroom. The video began to play. Crystal clear, perfect audio, high definition. The entire traffic stopped from the moment Lang's patrol car appeared in the rearview mirror. Everyone watched in silence. They heard Lang's voice, license and registration. They heard Maya respond, calm and respectful. Good evening, officer. May I ask why I was pulled over? They heard him claim to smell marijuana in a car where no marijuana existed. They heard him call her sweetheart. They heard him talk about you people. They watched him search the car, throw her belongings on the ground. And then came the moment, clear as day. Travis Lang reached into his own pocket, pulled something out, reached under the passenger seat, and found the drugs. He had planted them on video. The courtroom erupted. Gas from the gallery. The prosecutor's face drained of color. Sheriff Harlan half rose from his seat, then sat back down heavily. That's not Lang was gripping the arms of the witness chair. Where did that come from? That's been doctored. That's fake. But everyone could see it. The motion, the timing, the bag appearing in his hand before he discovered it. The lies were collapsing in real time. Marcus Reed approached the bench with another document. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to enter into the record. He handed Judge Shaw a sealed envelope. She opened it, read the contents. Her eyes widened. Mr. Reed, is this genuine? It is, Your Honor. Will someone tell me what's going on? The prosecutor demanded on his feet. What is that document? Reed turned to face the courtroom. Your Honor, at this time the defense moves to dismiss all charges against my client. On what grounds? On the grounds that my client is not who the prosecution believes her to be. He walked back to the defendant's table and stood beside Maya Ellison. My client is not Maya Ellison, insurance clerk from Oakdale Street. My client is Special Agent Maya Ellison, 12-year veteran of the Federal Bureau of Investigation Civil Rights Division. Dead silence. She was assigned to investigate civil rights violations in Whitmore County, specifically allegations of evidence planting, false arrests, and racially targeted policing by members of the Sheriff's Department. Deputy Travis Lang has been the primary subject of that investigation. The silence broke. Chaos in the gallery, reporters scrambling for their phones. Sheriff Harlan's face had gone from red to white. The drugs Deputy Lang claimed to have found in her vehicle were planted. We have video evidence of him doing so. Her car was swept by FBI technicians hours before the traffic stop. It was clean. Reed paused, letting the words land. Deputy Lang didn't arrest a criminal, Your Honor. He arrested the federal agent investigating him. Lang was shaking his head, muttering, no, 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 under his breath. Maya Ellison stood. For the first time since her arrest, she looked directly at Travis Lang. Her expression hadn't changed. Calm, controlled, patient. But now he understood what that patience meant. She had been watching him, studying him, waiting for him to do exactly what he did. And he had walked right into her trap. Case dismissed, Judge Shaw announced, her gavel coming down hard. All charges against the defendant are dropped. Deputy Lang, you are hereby suspended pending investigation. You will surrender your service weapon and badge to the bailiff immediately. This matter is referred to the FBI and to Internal Affairs. The courtroom exploded into noise and movement, but Maya Ellison simply walked toward the side door where two people in navy blue windbreakers were waiting. One of them handed her a jacket. She put it on. 3 letters on the back, bright yellow against the blue. FBI. She had entered that courthouse in an orange jumpsuit. She walked out in federal blue. The following days were the longest of Travis Lang's life. Within hours of the courtroom revelation, FBI vehicles filled the parking lot of the Whitmore County Sheriff's Department. Agents and windbreakers walked through the front doors carrying a federal search warrant signed by a judge in Washington, D.C. They weren't asking for cooperation, they were demanding it. "This is my department," Sheriff Harlan protested, stepping in front of the lead agent. "You can't just walk in here." "Actually, we can," Special Agent in Charge Monica Reyes said, holding up the warrant. "Federal investigation into civil rights violations, deprivation of rights under color of law, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. Your cooperation is appreciated, Sheriff, but it's not required." Harlan's face went through several colors, red, white, and finally a sick gray. He stepped aside. The agents moved through the building like a tide. Lang's desk was cleared, his locker opened and inventoried, his computer seized. Every file, every report, every piece of evidence he had touched in the past 5 years was boxed and carried out. The Deputy of the Year photo came off the wall. The commendations were logged as evidence of a departmental culture that rewarded problematic behavior. By the end of the day, the sheriff's department looked like it had been hit by a hurricane, and Travis Lang sat alone in an interrogation room, staring at gray walls. He had called his brother-in-law first. Russell Tate had promised to make some calls, to talk to people, to fix this, but Tate's calls weren't being returned. The state attorney general's office was unavailable. The governor's chief of staff was in meetings. Old friends who had owed favors for decades suddenly had no memory of Travis Lang. When the FBI gets involved, local politics stop mattering, connections evaporate, everyone develops convenient amnesia. Russell Tate learned that lesson the hard way. Meanwhile, at the FBI field office, the real work was beginning. Analysts spread out every case Travis Lang had touched, every traffic stop, every arrest, every conviction. The pattern that emerged was devastating. Over 5 years, Lang had made 89 drug-related arrests. Of those 89, 71 involved black or Latino drivers, nearly 80% in a county where black and Latino residents made up less than 15% of the population. His conviction rate was 94%, extraordinary by any measure. But when they looked closer, something interesting emerged. Of the handful of defendants who had obtained independent video evidence, dash cam footage, security cameras, cell phone recordings, 5 out of 6 had their cases dismissed. Travis Lang only won when no one was watching. The analysts started pulling old case files, tracking down former defendants, making phone calls to people who had spent years trying to convince anyone that something wrong had happened to them. The stories were heartbreakingly consistent. He said he smelled marijuana. I've never smoked marijuana in my life. He said I was aggressive. I had my hands on the steering wheel. I said yes, sir, and no, sir, the whole time. He reached under my seat and pulled out a bag. I had never seen it before. I lost my job. Couldn't pass background checks anymore. Nobody would hire me. I spent 14 months in prison, 14 months for drugs that were never mine. My kids were put in foster care. By the time I got out, my ex-wife had full custody. I barely see them now. One by one, the victims came forward, men and women who had spent years trying to tell anyone who would listen that the system had failed them, that Travis Lang was not who he pretended to be. For years, no one believed them. Their complaints were dismissed, their appeals were denied, their lives were destroyed. Now someone was finally listening. But the FBI needed more than just victim testimony. They needed someone from inside, someone who could describe what they had witnessed firsthand. They needed Holly Bennett. She was brought in on the 3rd day. Agent Reyes met her in a small gray room with no windows. A recorder sat on the table between them. "Deputy Bennett, thank you for coming in." Holly's hands were trembling. She hadn't slept in days. "Do I need a lawyer?" "That depends on what you tell me." Reyes opened a folder. "You were present during the traffic stop of Maya Ellison. Your body camera footage from that stop is listed as corrupted. Your dash cam footage was deleted from your department computer." She looked up. "But you didn't delete it from the cloud." The color drained from Holly's face. "We've recovered that footage, Deputy. We've analyzed it frame by frame." Reyes pushed a photograph across the table, a still image from the dash cam, Lang's hand clearly visible, reaching into his pocket. "You saw this happen. You saw him plant evidence." Silence. "I have 2 kids, Holly finally said, her voice cracking. "A mortgage. Lang has friends everywhere. His brother-in-law is a county commissioner. What was I supposed to do?" "You were supposed to be a peace officer," Reyes said quietly. "You took an oath to protect people." "I know." Tears were streaming down Holly's face now. I know. "How many times did you see him do it? Plant evidence, falsify reports, target people because of how they looked?" Holly closed her eyes. "I don't know, 5 times, maybe 6, maybe more. He would tell me to turn off my camera. He would say, 'Watch how it's done.' And I watched." She took a shaky breath. "I should have spoken up. I didn't. I was scared." "You have a choice now, Deputy. Cooperate fully. Tell us everything you witnessed, and there's a path forward for you. Stay silent, and you're looking at accessory charges, obstruction of justice, conspiracy. You'll never wear a badge again, and you might spend time in a cell of your own." Holly Bennett made her choice. Over the next 3 hours, she told them everything. Every stop she had witnessed, every equipment malfunction she had been told to create, every complaint she had heard dismissed without investigation. She told them about Sheriff Harlan, who signed off on reports without reading them, about the Internal Affairs Department run by Harlan's nephew, designed to protect officers rather than investigate them, about the culture of the department where complaints from Black and Latino citizens were treated as inconveniences to be managed rather than problems to be solved. And she told them about the other deputies, the ones who knew something was wrong but said nothing, the ones who looked the other way because it was easier, the ones who had convinced themselves that what Travis Lang did wasn't their responsibility. When she was finished, Reyes turned off the recorder. "You did the right thing," Reyes said. "It should have happened sooner, but it happened." "Will that matter?" Reyes considered the question carefully. "I don't know, but it's a start." Soon after, Sheriff Roy Harlan held a press conference. He stood at a podium outside the sheriff's department, cameras flashing, microphones thrust toward his face. "The Whitmore County Sheriff's Department takes these allegations very seriously," he read from prepared notes. "Deputy Lang has been suspended pending a thorough investigation. I want to assure the citizens of this county that we hold our officers to the highest standards." A reporter from the state paper interrupted. "Sheriff Harlan, your signature appears on the dismissal forms for 23 complaints filed against Deputy Lang over the past 5 years. How can you claim to know nothing about his behavior?" Harlan's face tightened. "I trusted my internal affairs team to conduct thorough investigations." "Your internal affairs team consists of one person, your nephew, who has no investigative training and has never sustained a single complaint against any officer. Is that the highest standards you mentioned?" Harlan had no answer. The press conference ended shortly after. It was his last public appearance as sheriff of Whitmore County. In the weeks that followed, the United States Department of Justice held its own press conference in Washington, D.C. Today we are announcing federal criminal charges against former Deputy Travis Lang of the Whitmore County Sheriff's Department. The charges: Count 1, deprivation of civil rights under color of law. Lang had used his position to violate the constitutional rights of citizens based on their race. Count 2, perjury. He had lied under oath in the trial of Maya Ellison and, the investigation revealed, in at least 11 other cases. Count 3, obstruction of justice. He had tampered with evidence, manipulated reports, and participated in efforts to suppress complaints. Count 4, evidence tampering. He had planted drugs in the vehicles of innocent people, then arrested them for crimes that never occurred. Maximum combined sentence, 30 years in federal prison. The DOJ also announced that it had reached a consent decree with Whitmore County, a legally binding agreement requiring sweeping reforms. Mandatory body cameras for all deputies with tamper-proof storage that uploaded directly to an independent server. Independent oversight of all uses of force, all complaints, and all arrests involving minority citizens. A civilian review board with subpoena power, authority to compel testimony, and the ability to recommend termination. Complete restructuring of internal affairs, including the removal of Harlan's nephew and the hiring of trained investigators from outside the department. The system that had protected Travis Lang for 15 years was being torn down and rebuilt from the ground. And it was only the beginning. Judge Evelyn Shaw, the same judge who had dismissed the charges against Maya Ellison, ordered a comprehensive review of every conviction in Whitmore County that relied on Travis Lang's testimony. The results were staggering. 41 cases were flagged for review, 23 convictions were vacated, thrown out entirely as unreliable, 11 people were released from prison. 11 human beings who had spent years locked up for crimes that never happened. Some had served 18 months, some had served 3 years, one man had been incarcerated for almost 5 years. When he walked out of the prison gates, he fell to his knees and wept. His mother, who had visited him every month for 4.5 years, stood beside him crying too. "I told them," she kept saying. "I told them he didn't do it. No one listened." Now everyone was listening. Months later, in a federal courthouse, Travis Lang walked into a different courtroom. This time he was the defendant. The trial lasted 5 days. The evidence was overwhelming. The prosecution played Maya's recording twice, frame by frame, moment by moment, showing exactly how Lang had planted the drugs. They called Holly Bennett to the stand. She testified for 2 hours, describing stop after stop, lie after lie. They presented the statistical analysis: 71 Black and Latino drivers arrested out of 89 total, a pattern that couldn't be explained by coincidence. They called the victims one by one. They took the stand and told their stories. Years of their lives stolen, families destroyed, all because one man with a badge decided they looked like the type. Lang's defense attorney tried everything: equipment malfunction, bias in the investigation, a dedicated public servant being unfairly targeted. The jury wasn't buying it. They had seen the video, they had heard the testimony, they knew the truth. On the final day, Special Agent Maya Ellison took the witness stand. The prosecutor asked her, "Agent Ellison, when Deputy Lang arrested you, you could have identified yourself immediately. Why didn't you?" Maya looked at the jury, then at Lang. "Because my job wasn't to save myself, it was to save the next person, and the one after that." She paused. "If I had revealed myself on that roadside, he would have apologized. The department would have covered it up." and nothing would have changed. I needed him to lie under oath. I needed the system to hear it. I needed the world to see what the people of this county had been living with for 15 years. Lang couldn't meet her eyes. He stared at the table in front of him, jaw clenched, face red. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They returned with a verdict. Guilty on all 4 counts. 2 weeks later, Travis Lang stood before the judge for sentencing. Mr. Lang, the judge said, you swore an oath to protect and serve. Instead, you used your badge as a weapon against the very people you were supposed to protect. You planted evidence. You lied under oath. You destroyed innocent lives. The judge paused. This court sentences you to 12 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole. 12 years. Travis Lang, who had spent 15 years putting innocent people in prison, would now experience what he had done to them. In the gallery, the men and women he had wrongfully convicted sat watching. Some were crying, some were nodding, some just stared, finally seeing the justice they had been denied for so long. Maya Ellison was there too in the back row, quiet watching. When the verdict was read, she didn't smile, she didn't celebrate. She simply closed her notebook, stood up, and walked out. There was more work to do. Today, Whitmore County looks different. There's new leadership at the sheriff's department, new training, new accountability. Every deputy wears a tamper-proof body camera that uploads directly to an independent server. They can't turn it off. They can't delete the footage. Everything is recorded. Everything is stored. And a civilian oversight board reviews every complaint. The system that protected Travis Lang for 15 years no longer exists, but the damage he caused hasn't disappeared. 23 people had their convictions overturned. 11 were released from prison. The county established a restitution fund, money that can never fully repay what was taken. One of the victims finished his college degree last spring. He had started it before his arrest 15 years ago. Another reconnected with children she hadn't seen in 8 years. They're rebuilding slowly. A third opened a small barbershop downtown. On the wall, he hung his certificate of exoneration. So people know, he said, so they remember. Special Agent Maya Ellison was promoted to Supervisory Special Agent in the FBI's Civil Rights Division. She continues to investigate police misconduct across the country. When asked about the Lang case, she doesn't talk about herself. She talks about the people he harmed and the ones she hopes to protect next. I think about them, she said in an interview, the people who didn't have proof, the ones who tried to tell the truth and no one believed them. That's who I do this for. Today, if you drive down County Road 12, you won't see anything unusual, just a stretch of rural road, fields on both sides, cars passing peacefully. But something happened here that changed everything. A man with a badge thought he could lie without consequences. He thought the system would protect him. He thought no one was watching. He was wrong. Because sometimes the truth doesn't disappear. It waits. And when it's ready, it speaks louder than any lie ever could. Across America, traffic stops remain one of the most common interactions between citizens and police. Studies show that black drivers are stopped at disproportionate rates and searched more often, even when those searches find nothing. Change happens when we document it, when we demand it, when we refuse to stay silent. Have you ever witnessed something wrong and felt powerless to speak up? What would you do if you had the evidence to prove the truth? If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. What does justice look like in your community? Subscribe for more stories that expose the truth and honor the people who fight for it. Thank you for watching.